My sister pretended to be terminally ill. Then her doctor called me. Before we begin the story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and never miss more incredible stories every day. I remember the exact moment my sister told me she was dying. We were sitting in Mom's living room, the smell of chamomile tea hanging in the air, when she reached across the table, took my hands in hers, and whispered, "It's cancer. Stage 4. Her voice trembled just enough to sound believable, but her eyes were dry. I didn't think about that at the time. I just felt the floor drop out from under me. Mom burst into sobs, clutching her like she might disappear right there. Dad paced in circles, already muttering about doctors, treatment options, and second opinions. But my sister shook her head firmly. They said there's nothing they can do. Just time. Maybe a few months. I cried so hard that night I could barely breathe. My mind kept replaying every childhood memory. The bike rides, the whispered secrets at sleepovers, the petty fights, all colored now by the shadow of losing her. She started posting about it online the very next day. Long, emotional paragraphs about cherishing every moment and finding beauty in pain. Friends shared her posts, strangers offered prayers, and soon she had a GoFundMe page for medical bills. Within a week, thousands of dollars had poured in. But little cracks appeared early on. She always seemed too energetic for someone undergoing aggressive treatment. She canceled doctor visits at the last minute, blaming bad days, but never showing signs of weakness when it came to public appearances. And her medical updates? They were vague, often recycled from inspirational blogs. I pushed my doubts down, because who questions their dying sister? But one afternoon, my phone rang, and the caller ID froze my breath. Dr. Harris, the oncologist she claimed was treating her. "Is this Emily's sister?" he asked. "Yes," I said, bracing myself. "I'm calling because I think there's been a misunderstanding. Emily isn't a patient here. She's never been treated for cancer at our clinic." My grip on the phone tightened. I don't understand," she said. "I thought you should know," he said gently. "Someone is lying to you." The room tilted, and the only thing louder than the ringing in my ears was the pounding thought. Why would she do this? And then I heard my front door unlock. She had a key. The lock clicked, and my heart slammed into my ribs. I stuffed my phone into my pocket so fast I almost dropped it, Dr. Harris's words still echoing in my head. "She's never been treated for cancer at our clinic." Emily breezed in like she owned the place, wearing a flowy cardigan and clutching a smoothie the size of her forearm. "Hey," she sang out. "I was just in the neighborhood and thought I'd drop by. You look pale. Everything okay?" I swallowed the lump in my throat. "Yeah, just didn't sleep well." She set her drink on my counter and scanned the room like she was making sure nothing had changed. "You need to take care of yourself. I know all of this, my situation, is hard on you." She let her voice crack on the last words, like she was auditioning for a tragedy. Every instinct screamed to confront her right then, but I forced a smile. "How's the treatment going?" I asked, leaning on the word treatment. She sighed dramatically. "Rough. They changed my meds, so I'm nauseous all the time. But I'm strong." It took everything not to blurt out, "You don't even have a doctor." Instead, I played along. "Do you have another appointment this week?" "Yeah, Thursday morning. Same place." She avoided my eyes as she said it. My phone vibrated in my pocket. I knew who it was before I checked. Dr. Harris again. I didn't answer, but my chest tightened. She was lying straight to my face. Emily opened my fridge without asking, pulling out leftovers like she lived there. "Oh, by the way," she said between bites, "can you help share my GoFundMe again? Donations have slowed, and I still have so many bills." The words made my skin crawl. The bills weren't real. None of it was. But now I had proof. I just didn't know how to use it yet. And then, as if the universe was done being subtle, my phone pinged with a new message. It wasn't from Dr. Harris. It was from an anonymous number. "Stop asking questions, or you'll regret it." My thumb hovered over the message, my brain trying to decide if this was some sick prank or something far more serious. "Stop asking questions, or you'll regret it." I read it again, slower this time. My stomach nodded. No name. No signature. Just a warning that made my skin prickle. Emily was still in the kitchen, humming to herself as she reheated something in the microwave. I shoved the phone back into my pocket, forcing my breathing to stay even. Whoever sent that text knew I'd been digging, which meant I couldn't trust anyone, maybe not even my own family. When she left, I locked the door and finally called Dr. Harris back. His voice was firm. I can't share medical records without consent. But, you should know, nobody named Emily Carter has been treated here for cancer in the past 5 years. If she's showing you paperwork, it's forged. I sat down hard, my knees weak. So she's been lying to all of us. For months. He sighed. Look, I don't know her reasons, but if she's using this for financial gain, that's fraud. And it's serious. Fraud. The word rang in my ears. It wasn't just emotional manipulation anymore. It was criminal. That night, I didn't sleep. I kept picturing the GoFundMe page with its sad selfies and exaggerated updates. I thought about my parents draining their savings to help with her treatments. And now, this anonymous threat. At 2 a.m., I opened my laptop. I started saving screenshots of every post, every update, every comment praising her courage. If this was going to blow up, I needed proof, and lots of it. The next morning, my phone buzzed again. Another message from the same number. Last warning. Family first. Don't destroy her. And then, a photo attachment. It was my car, parked outside my apartment. Taken sometime last night. I didn't delete the photo. I stared at it until the edges of my vision blurred. Someone was watching me. Close enough to know where I lived. Close enough to send a warning in the middle of the night. I couldn't tell my parents. They were still under Emily's spell, hanging on every dramatic update she posted about her treatments. If I accused her outright, I'd be painted as the heartless sibling who was kicking someone while they were dying. So, I made a choice. I would play along. The next day, I showed up at Emily's apartment with a bouquet of flowers and the fakest smile I've ever worn. She looked tired. At least, she'd made herself look that way. Pale makeup, oversized hoodie, no hair showing under her beanie. She hugged me, and I felt her lean in just long enough to whisper, "Glad you're on my side." I wanted to scream. Instead, I sat on her couch, asked all the right, caring sibling questions, and let her show me her latest round of test results. I pretended to be impressed. I pretended to be devastated for her. But every photo, every document, I memorized. That evening, when I got home, I sketched out a plan. I'd need 3 things. 1. A safe way to track where the GoFundMe money was going. 2. Allies who weren't blinded by her act. 3. A way to get the truth without her catching on. Step 1 was already in motion. I had screenshots and Dr. Harris's unofficial statement. Step 2. That would be harder. Most of my friends were also hers, and loyalty ran thick in our small town. Step 3. That one scared me, because it meant getting closer to her than ever before, while she was already watching me. The next morning, I found something in my mailbox. No envelope, no address, just a single folded piece of paper. Inside, in jagged handwriting. "You have no idea who you're messing with." The note burned a hole in my pocket all day. I kept replaying the handwriting in my head. Jagged, almost rushed, but with enough force to rip slightly into the paper. Whoever left it wasn't just trying to scare me. They were angry. By mid-afternoon, I couldn't focus at work. My phone buzzed, and when I saw the name, I froze. Lena, one of Emily's oldest friends. We hadn't spoken in months, not since I started acting cold toward my sister. Her text was short. "We need to talk. Not here. Tonight. Cafe on 5th. When I got there, Lena was already in a corner booth, hood up, sunglasses on like she thought she was in a spy movie. The moment I sat down, she leaned forward. "I know she's lying." My heart skipped. "What?" "Emily. The cancer. It's all fake." Her voice shook. "She's been buying wigs and makeup from this special effects store downtown. I helped her once, before I realized what it was for. She told me it was for a short film her friend was making." I swallowed hard. "Why are you telling me this now?" Lena's hands tightened around her coffee cup. "Because she's not just scamming the family anymore. She's pulling money from strangers online. Thousands." I saw the withdrawals. This was my first real break. Someone else willing to admit the truth. But before I could ask more, Lena's eyes darted toward the door. Emily was standing there. Her smile was warm, her voice cheerful as she walked over. "Wow, fancy seeing you two together. What's the occasion?" Lena went pale. And then Emily slid into the booth beside me, her arm draped over the back of my chair. "You know," she said sweetly, "it's dangerous to meet behind people's backs. Someone might get the wrong idea." The way she said dangerous made the hairs on my neck stand up. That night, my phone blew up. "First, Mom." then Aunt Rachel, then even my cousin Mark, who I barely spoke to. All of them wanted to know why I was gossiping about Emily's illness. Mom's voice cracked over the line. How could you, after everything she's going through? She told me you've been spreading lies, saying she's making it all up. I tried to explain, but every word I said seemed to dig me deeper. Mom, I'm not spreading lies. Something's not adding up. I need to be sure. She cut me off. Do you know how cruel that sounds? To question her when she's fighting for her life? Then she hung up. By morning, Emily had posted a new update to her fundraiser. Some people can't handle the truth of my diagnosis and have decided to attack me in my weakest moment. I'm choosing forgiveness, but please keep me in your prayers. The comments section exploded with support for her and thinly veiled hatred for me. Words like jealous, attention seeker, and heartless filled the screen. Then came the cherry on top. My boss called me into her office. Someone, Emily or one of her friends, had emailed HR claiming I'd been harassing a terminally ill woman and mentally unstable. I left work early, shaking, humiliated. That evening, I texted Lena. She's turning everyone against me. What do I do? Her reply came minutes later. Then we get proof she can't explain away. I didn't know it yet, but that was the first step toward a plan that would tear the entire lie wide open. And the person who would deliver the first crack in Emily's perfect story was about to call me. It happened on a Tuesday afternoon, when I was halfway through scrubbing my kitchen just to keep my mind from spiraling. My phone lit up with an unknown number. Normally, I let those go to voicemail, but something in my gut told me to answer. Hello. A man's voice, calm but hesitant, spoke. Is this Emily's sister? Yes, I said cautiously. Who's asking? This is Dr. Hale from Riverbend Oncology. I'm calling because I believe there's been some sort of misunderstanding. My heart stuttered. Misunderstanding? He sighed, like he'd been holding this in too long. Your sister told us you were helping manage her medical documents, but we have no record of her being treated here, or anywhere in our system. In fact, the file she showed people isn't ours. It's fabricated. I gripped the counter to steady myself. You're saying she's not sick? I'm saying, his voice sharpened, she's never been diagnosed with any terminal illness by our clinic. And if she's been collecting donations under that claim, you should know that's fraud. It felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. My pulse roared in my ears. For weeks, I'd been the villain in everyone's eyes, jealous, cruel, heartless. And now, here was the truth I'd been desperate for, delivered by the very professional she claimed was saving her life. Why are you telling me this? I managed. Because, Dr. Hale said gravely, if this goes on much longer, someone's going to get hurt, financially or otherwise. And you might be the only one willing to stop it. Before I could reply, the line went dead. I stared at my phone, shaking. The proof I needed had fallen into my lap. But I knew, showing it to the family would be like lighting a match in a room full of gasoline. I sat at my kitchen table, phone still in my hand, Dr. Hale's words echoing in my head. Proof. I finally had proof. But proof was useless if no one was willing to believe it. And in my family, belief was already a luxury I'd lost. I imagined walking into the next family gathering, dropping this bomb like it was a casual update. The image turned sour fast. Mom's hand over her mouth, Dad's voice booming with outrage, my aunt clutching her pearls like I'd just confessed to murder. And Emily would cry. She'd wrap her arms around herself, look small and fragile, and whisper, I can't believe you do this to me while I'm dying. And they'd all hate me more. I had two choices. 1, go public, in front of everyone, and risk a nuclear-level family meltdown. 2, confront Emily alone, give her the chance to come clean, and pray she didn't twist it back on me. The safer play seemed obvious. But safe didn't win wars, and this was starting to feel like one. I opened my laptop, fingers hovering over the keyboard. Should I record the call to Dr. Hale before confronting her? Maybe even talk to the charity she'd been siphoning from? My mind spun with strategies. Then a notification popped up, a new post in Emily's Fight for Life group. I clicked. She'd just uploaded a picture of herself in a hospital gown, smiling weakly at the camera, with the caption, Big surgery coming up, praying for a miracle red heart. Except the photo wasn't from today. I remembered that gown. That room. It was from when she'd had her appendix out 2 years ago. My hands clenched into fists. This wasn't just a lie anymore. It was theater. That's when I decided I wasn't going to warn her. I was going to burn this all down. The plan formed almost too easily. Emily had been using her illness to center herself in every family event, birthdays, anniversaries, even random Sunday dinners. And there was one coming up this weekend, Dad's retirement party. Everyone would be there. Perfect. I started with the charity. It was easy enough to call, pretending I was a journalist doing a piece on inspirational fundraisers. The coordinator was polite, but when I casually mentioned Emily's name, her tone shifted. We actually haven't been able to confirm her hospital records for the grant paperwork, she admitted. She's been unresponsive to our requests. Is everything all right? I nearly laughed. Everything was deliciously not all right. Next, I went through my old texts with Emily. Screenshots of inconsistencies piled up, saying she was in chemo while posting photos from a spa weekend, claiming she was too sick to travel while checking in at a beach resort. I saved them all in a neat little folder labeled Final Act. But the real coup was the call. Dr. Hale agreed to send me a signed statement confirming she had never diagnosed Emily with any terminal illness. I hate liars who exploit medical sympathy, she said, her voice sharp. By Friday, I had everything I needed. The morning of the party, I printed the evidence, tucked it into an envelope, and slipped it into my bag. The weight of it felt like a weapon. My heart pounded, but for the first time in months, it wasn't from dread, it was anticipation. When I arrived, Emily was already holding court, pale cardigan draped over her shoulders, speaking softly to a cluster of relatives. They hung on her every word. I could almost hear the fake tremble in her voice. She didn't see me yet. Good, because when she finally did, I'd be smiling. And I wouldn't be smiling for her. Dad's retirement party was in full swing when I spotted my moment. The living room was packed, uncles laughing too loudly, aunts fussing over platters of food, cousins chasing each other between chairs. Emily sat near the center like a queen on her throne, one hand resting dramatically over her stomach, the other clutching a mug of tea she probably didn't even like. I could feel my pulse in my ears as I crossed the room. She looked up and her smile froze for just a fraction of a second, just long enough for me to see the flicker of unease. Then she leaned back in her chair and forced a warm, sisterly grin. Hey, she said, voice dripping with faux sweetness. I wasn't sure you'd come. Oh, I wouldn't miss this, I replied, letting just enough edge creep into my tone to make her eyes narrow. I waited until the room had settled into a lull, a cousin's joke dying down, a lull in conversation. Then I cleared my throat. I have something I'd like to share, I said loudly enough for everyone to hear. Dozens of eyes turned to me. Emily's fingers tightened around her mug. I pulled the envelope from my bag and began laying out the papers on the coffee table. For months, we've all been told Emily is terminally ill. We've cried, prayed, and donated thousands of dollars. But I think everyone here deserves to see the truth. Gasps broke out. Emily's face went pale, then flushed deep red. What is this? She demanded, her voice trembling, not with weakness, but with fury. Official medical records, I said, holding up Dr. Hale's signed letter. From her actual doctor. She's not dying. She never was. A stunned silence followed, broken only by the sound of my aunt whispering, "Oh my God." Emily shot to her feet, her chair scraping against the floor. You're lying. You've always been jealous of me. But the room wasn't looking at me anymore. They were looking at her. And for the first time, I saw something in her eyes I hadn't seen before, panic. And I knew then, she was about to make a mistake. The air in the room was thick enough to choke on. Emily stood there, chest heaving, eyes darting like a cornered animal. I could almost see her calculating her next move. You're all seriously going to believe this? She spat, pointing at me. She's been trying to undermine me for years. She couldn't stand it when people actually cared about me. A murmur ran through the crowd, some voices siding with her, others whispering in disbelief. I saw my cousin Mark frown down at the documents, his lips moving as he skimmed Dr. Hale's letter. Emily, this is signed and dated last week, he said slowly. If you were terminal, why would your real doctor write this? Her face flickered with something like fear, but it was gone in a heartbeat. It's fake. She made it up. Emily shouted, but the pitch of her voice was rising, cracking under the weight of her own performance. I didn't say anything. I didn't have to. The room was already shifting. People who had been hanging on her every word for months now stared at her with narrowed eyes. Then Aunt Linda stepped forward, her voice trembling. Emily, what about the money we all gave you? The fundraiser? Emily's hand clenched into a fist around her mug. That money went to treatment, she snapped. You think cancer treatment is cheap? But Mark's voice cut in again, steady, almost too calm. Funny, because I checked the GoFundMe records. 2 large withdrawals went straight into your personal account, and not to any medical facility. Gasps erupted like fireworks. Emily's head whipped toward him, and I swear for a second, her mask cracked completely. I knew then that the next words out of her mouth could make or break everything. And she chose the worst ones possible. Emily's lips curled into a smile that didn't reach her eyes, too wide, too strained. You think you're all so smart, she said, her voice trembling. Digging into my life like I'm some criminal. You don't know what I've been through. Her voice broke on the last word, but there were no tears, not like the dramatic sobbing she'd perfected for months. This was raw panic trying to hide under a shaky performance. I was dying, and none of you cared until I told you, she screamed, pointing wildly around the room. You all wanted me gone anyway. That's not true, Aunt Linda said softly, but her voice had steel under it. We loved you. We were scared for you. Mark, still holding the printed bank statements, stepped closer. Then explain this. Explain why the hospital you claim to be treated at has no record of you ever being a patient. Emily's head whipped toward him, and for a second, I saw it. The flash of rage, the cornered predator. Maybe I didn't want my private medical history on file for every nurse to gossip about, she snapped. That's not how hospitals work, Mark replied coldly. The room was dead silent, all eyes locked on her. Her breathing was rapid now, her hands fidgeting. She opened her mouth like she was going to lash out again. But then, she said something that made my stomach drop. Fine, she hissed, her voice low but sharp. You want the truth? Maybe I did make it all up. Maybe I had to. You have no idea what I needed that money for. Gasps rippled through the family. My pulse was thundering in my ears. Because in that moment, I realized something horrifying. She wasn't sorry. Not even close. The air was thick with disbelief. My mother's hand was pressed to her mouth, her eyes wet but hard. Mark still stood frozen, holding those damning bank statements like they weighed 100 pounds. Emily took a step toward me, her gaze locking onto mine with unsettling intensity. You think I'm a monster, she said, her tone shifting, less frantic now, almost cold. But you have no idea what it's like to be me. I clenched my fists. Enlighten me. She laughed, short, humorless. All my life, I've been the screw-up. The one who never got the scholarships, the dream jobs, the perfect relationships. You're the golden child. Everything just falls into your lap. I was done playing the loser. Her words stung more than I wanted to admit. So you conned your own family? I demanded. You made Mom think she was going to lose her daughter? I needed a win, she snapped. And no one cares about you unless you're in some kind of tragedy. People donate. They send love. They finally see you. I just took what was finally mine. Her voice had gone quiet, but the venom in it was unmistakable. Mark shook his head in disbelief. This wasn't about survival. This was about envy. Emily's lips curled into a smirk. Maybe. But here's the thing. You don't have proof that I kept the money. Not legally, anyway. And if you go public, I'll make sure everyone knows how you bullied your dying sister until she broke. Who do you think they'll believe? Her confidence sent a chill through me. Because deep down, I knew she might be right. But that's when Aunt Linda spoke up from the corner, holding up her phone. They'll believe this, she said, tapping the screen. Because I recorded everything you just said. Emily's smirk faltered. The silence after Aunt Linda's words was suffocating. Emily's eyes darted between us, trying to calculate her next move. But the smirk that had once seemed unshakable was gone. You think anyone's going to believe a secret recording? She hissed. Half the family already thinks you're out to get me. I'll spin this. Say you edited it, that you're obsessed with destroying me. But there was a tremor in her voice now, a tiny crack in her armor. Linda didn't flinch. This recording is backed up to 3 places already. You can try to twist the story, Emily, but the truth has a way of bleeding through. Mom sat down heavily in her chair, staring at the floor as if the weight of the last few months had just come crashing down all at once. I don't even know who you are anymore, she whispered. Emily's jaw tightened. I'm the one who finally took control of her life, she shot back. None of you were ever going to give me what I deserved. Mark slammed the bank statements on the table. You stole from people who thought they were saving your life. This isn't control, this is fraud. Her defiance wavered. And what are you going to do? Turn me in? Watch your own sister rot in jail? She looked at me, her eyes narrowing. Because if you do, I'll make sure everyone knows your little secret. My stomach clenched. She was bluffing, right? But the way she held my gaze made me wonder just how far she'd go. And then, in a voice so calm it was chilling, Aunt Linda said, maybe jail is exactly where you need to be, Emily. That's when Emily's phone buzzed on the table, and the caller ID read Detective Harris. The room went still. Emily's hand twitched toward her phone, but I got there first, snatching it off the table before she could answer. Hello. My voice shook, but I kept it steady enough. This is Detective Harris, a deep voice said. Is this Emily Thompson? This is her brother, I replied carefully. She's here. What's this about? A pause. Then, we need her to come in for questioning regarding multiple counts of fraud, identity theft, and misappropriation of charitable funds. We have substantial evidence and a warrant for her arrest. The words hung in the air like a thunderclap. Mom's face went pale. Mark leaned forward, his jaw tight. Emily froze, her confidence draining with every second of silence. This is ridiculous, she stammered. I'm sick. This is harassment. But Harris cut her off, his voice calm but unyielding. Emily, the hospital confirmed you never received treatment. The donations are traceable to personal accounts under your name. I suggest you cooperate. I put the phone on speaker so everyone could hear. Linda's eyes stayed locked on Emily's, unblinking. Emily backed away from the table, her breathing quick and shallow. You think you're all heroes, don't you? She spat. You don't understand. I had to do this. None of you ever gave me what I needed. You left me no choice. No choice but to lie? To steal? My voice cracked, fury and heartbreak twisting inside me. There was a loud knock at the door, 3 sharp raps that rattled the frame. Linda stood, glancing toward the entryway. That's not going to be a neighbor. Emily's eyes darted wildly between us, and for the first time in months, I saw it, fear. The knocking came again, louder this time. And then, a voice. Police. Open up.